Hi family, it's Pastor Lauren here. It's so good to be here with you all today. I just wanted to start off this time with a few exciting announcements. First off is I just wanted to say happy early Mother's Day to all of you mothers, grandmothers, aunties, spiritual mothers, soon-to-be mothers out there. And just wanted to say thank you for all of your sacrificial love and just richness that you bring to the kingdom. The world is such a better place with you in it. I also wanted to just give prayers to those of you who may be mourning the loss of your mother this year. I know a lot of our congregation has gone through that, especially in 2020, and just wanted to say that the Lord is with you and He's just beside you in your mourning on this holiday. Another announcement is that we just wanted to give a special shout out to Emily Asami, Pastor Matt's wife, for her very first Mother's Day, as they had their baby, and her name is Marigold Megumi Asami. And so Emily, just wanted to wish you a very happy Mother's Day, and that we are praying for you and Pastor Matt as you go on leave and as you just really embrace this first few days and first few weeks as parents. Second announcement is we wanted to invite you to our Revive Community Time, and it's going to be this Saturday, May 8th at 2 p.m. So hope you could join us, and we will be on the same Zoom link down below. And our third announcement, if you haven't gotten it yet in our senior meal delivery save the date invite, we have a very special announcement, and we're actually going to be opening up our indoor services in the chapel on June 20th, and it's actually Father's Day, so we wanted you to mark your calendars and hope to see you there. Just in case you missed last Revive devotional, we kicked off a series called Rebuilding, and it's based off of the Old Testament book Nehemiah. And so Michael kicked off our devotional with just diving into having a heart for those who are suffering. And the heart behind this whole series of rebuilding is really just to glean insight from the Israelites as they were rebuilding. And as they were rebuilding, we are also rebuilding society, our communities, our schedule, as we, in a sense, heal and recover post-pandemic. And we just wanted to just make these connections biblically, and also just apply some of them in our everyday lives as things are changing, as people are getting vaccinated, as things start to open up, and life starts to slowly change again. So last Revive, we had a really awesome time just diving into the Word, and in our small groups, we basically had a mini Bible study, really just learning from the insight from each other and just taking a lot of application from our insight from the Word. And so for this week, we are going to be diving into Nehemiah 2, 11 through 20, and Nehemiah 3. And so I just wanted to start off with reading from verse 11, and it says, "I went to Jerusalem, and after staying there 3 days, I set out during the night with a few others. I had not told anyone what my God had put on my heart to do for Jerusalem. There were no mounts with me except the one I was riding on. By night, I went out through the valley gate towards the Jackal Well and the Dung Gate, examining the walls of Jerusalem, which had been broken down, and its gates, which had been destroyed by fire. Then I moved on towards the Fountain Gate and the King's Pool, but there was not enough room for my mount to get through. So I went up the valley by night, examining the wall. Finally, I turned back and re-entered through the valley gate. The officials did not know where I had gone or what I was doing, because as yet I had said nothing to the Jews or the priests or the nobles or the officials or any others who would be doing the work. Then I said to them, 'You see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, Let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace. I also told them about the gracious hand of my God on me and what the king had said to me. They replied, "Let's start rebuilding." So they began this good work. And at the end of Nehemiah 2, Nehemiah faces some harsh criticism and questioning from different people. And oftentimes, when we have a vision from the Lord and we're trying to go through with it, and it may seem, a little outlandish or kind of crazy, we might also face some criticism. But I appreciate Nehemiah's response as we read in verse 20, and it says, "I answered them by saying, 'The God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will start rebuilding. But as for you, you have no share in Jerusalem or any claim or historic right to it.'" And so here we see Nehemiah's full confidence in God's plan. And as we read before, we know that Nehemiah really carried himself well with his favor that he had with the trust of the king and also the favor from the Lord. And we're not going to get into all of Nehemiah 3, but in Nehemiah 3, it talks about all of the builders of the wall. And so Nehemiah, with his networking and just ability to connect and see people's gifts and skill sets, he writes down all of the people who helped in rebuilding the different beams, the different gates. And it's just an entire chapter of recognizing the people who helped rebuild the wall, to help rebuild Jerusalem. And with that, this takes us back to the heart behind this devotional, which is rebuilding and recognizing one another. And so in rebuilding, I want us to think about these 3 questions, which is, what might God be calling you to rebuild? Is it maybe your health? Is it maybe a relationship? Is it maybe even a corner of your house or a part of your life? And the second question is, what is that game plan going to look like? Just like Nehemiah surveyed the land and he noticed what needed to be worked on, that's the same thing that I want you to invite God into that process. That how is that going to happen? How is that dream going to become a reality? And the third question is, who can you invite into that process? And like how Nehemiah took that entire chapter 3, just recognizing those people, how can we recognize those people in our life? Or how can we have God highlight them so we could start these building relationships with them into maybe the answer to the first question of, what do we want to rebuild? And so I want us to think about those 3 questions through the rest of this devotional, and we're going to talk about that at our community time on Saturday. Some examples in my own life that God has been calling me to work on or rebuild has been things such as health, things such as my schedule, and things such as when Derek and I redid our backyard. With the example of my calendar, I noticed that at the beginning of the pandemic, I felt like I had all this time in the world. And, in lockdown, you weren't really seeing as many people as you used to. But now, as things start to reopen, I need to rebuild my schedule because I could already pinpoint that, 2-3 weeks ago, my schedule started to get a lot more packed, knowing that people were more available to see each other face to face. And so I need to just take an inventory, see the lay of the lands, and just see how I can keep my schedule something that is sustainable and doable to my body and my fuel and energy. And lastly, with the example that I talked about with our space in our home, I wanted to just share a visual example of when Derek and I just felt the need to redo our backyard. And so, like Nehemiah, we saw the lay of the land. We saw that, this space wasn't being utilized. This space was actually destroyed by weeds. And, I'm going to insert a few clips here, and you'll see how just the process of actually toiling the soil and ripping up what was old and placing in something new really brings life, and it brings newness to a situation, and it brings newness to what can take place in a situation that before couldn't hold what the space was meant for, or what the space was intended to be. You'll see a transformation to something that was nothing into something that we use almost daily. And believe it or not, today is day 421 in my online journal in recording things in life in a pandemic. And I just wanted to remind you what things looked like maybe a year or so ago. And so the following videos are from my camera roll, and certain things like being at Costco and standing in huge lines to get in, or recording online sermons, or just doing things like having Zoom meetings be the norm. And so I want you to think about this past year and how God has called you to refine certain parts of your life and rebuild certain parts of your life as we go into a post-pandemic world soon. So again, what is God calling you to rebuild? How is God calling you to make this dream a reality? And who is God opening your eyes to recognize who you can partner with in this journey? And so, Revive family, I just wanted to pray the Lord's discernment, the Lord's strength, and the Lord's future hope over you as you tackle these things on your list to rebuild. And I pray that during this time, it could be very refining and exciting to see God's newness come to life in your health, in your space, in your relationships, and anything else that you could imagine. Take care, and we're so glad that you could be with us here on this day.